You are live.
Whoopee.
All right. Well, according to this, we're live. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Omega Files. You folks already out there in comment land. I've been sitting here glancing over every now and then. How's everybody doing out there in the world beyond? Tonight, we're here to discuss the Giggle, the last episode of the 60th anniversary trilogy. And oh boy, did it throw up a bunch of weird stuff. Ugh. But it also did fill in on a lot of interesting things. There's been a lot of questions regarding certain things, and they also, well, we'll get more into it because I don't want to start now. We'll bring it up as we go along. Okay, so starting off this week, last week we started top. I'm going to start at the bottom this time. So, William, tell us what you thought of the Giggle.
Interesting title. I'll give you that. What's unusual? This is the third of the 60th anniversary special. It is a special, and it is more than an hour, but it doesn't feel like a 60th anniversary. Yes, we did give the return of the past companion, Mel, which was good to see her return, and it was great to have the you could say the enemy of the toy maker. He was played great by Neil Patrick Harris. I gotta give props to that. He's a great actor. But it left me there because it didn't feel like a 60th, and it did what I was afraid that it did. That everything after the first Doctor met the toy maker, it does not exist in Big Finish or books because they never met after the first story, and that's messed up. And I gotta blame you, RTD, on that because you should have done your homework and at least tweaked it that he came, 2 or 3 times and met the other doctors. That would have took only 1 minute. 1 minute. I'm great to see Kate Stewart back. I'm just left. The only thing that confused me is that what happened to Osgood. I mean, you have a new scientific advice. So what happened to Osgood? She retired. She finally got married. Wow. So that was weird. I liked it. The you could say the splitting of the doctor. The end up we getting 2 doctors. Never thought that was going to happen. I thought it was going to be a straight regeneration, and I could see the RTD, like you can say, tweaking it for then. Since we know that God was a very busy actor, that's how come he's already ahead of filming 2 seasons already, and he's done movies and stuff like that. So you could say that you could ask and maybe pay more tenant to come in and do maybe 2 specials like that just to fill in the gap wise like that. So you gotta that's not a bad idea. But the weird thing is when tenants doctor going to regenerate, are we gonna see that? Or he just gone to the side. And what's funny, this dude's gonna be making more money in Big Finish playing the 10th and 14th doctors. So that's I gotta give him props for that. But like I said, it didn't feel like a 60th special to me. I did not when the 2 doctors was talking to each other and reminiscing of the past companion, I was totally saddened and shocked. Nobody mentioned Susan at all. None of the 2 of them. I was so shocked. And there was like again, this was supposed to be a 60th. And how could it be a 60th when his own first companion, the granddaughter, was not mentioned at all? We didn't need to know what happens to her at all. At least could have mentioned her name. And it upset me also that when McGann came in to do that little 7-minute clip, and he mentioned his companions, none of those 2 doctors couldn't mention one companion from his 8 doctor run at all, especially Charlie, because the 8th doctor on Scherzo admitted that he loves her. So that's a little sad right there. That little ticked me off. So it's not a bad story, but again, I don't consider it a 60th, and I'm very upset that the toy maker did not mention that he was able to mention the past stories that we have listened or read on. That's my opening statement right there.
Okay, AJ.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I don't think it's a 60th episode either. It's a decent episode. The Toymaker felt more like a cross between the Joker and the Master, honestly, to me, with just how wacky and out there he was. I don't know what the Toymaker was like in the original story with the first Doctor because I haven't seen it. I don't think many people have seen it because it doesn't really exist anymore. But it just, I don't know, it felt a little bit out there because this episode felt like it was what was it? The Last of the Time Lords and the End of Time Part 1 and 2 sort of mashed into a 1 hour story. That's what it felt like. You got the crisis and whatnot happening, and the Doctor's got to try and just solve it within an hour for us. I think it should have been at least an hour and a half, maybe even a two-parter, to spread the story out a little bit more, give it a bit more meat on its bones. It was good to see Mel back again. It was good to see Kate Stewart back again. I like the whole thing where the giggle was affecting people's minds to the point where they were just constantly outraged and always wanted to be right, and they had to suppress it for unit, which was cool too. Otherwise, they'll be just tearing each other apart. The part where towards the middle part, I think it was, where you're shooting up they're all shooting up at the Toymaker and just flowers are going everywhere. It's like what was it? That movie, American Beauty. It reminded me of American Beauty. Was laying on his back with the roses just going everywhere. I'm like, that. Why? Why is that hilarious? I just wish the bi-generation didn't happen. I don't know why. It just doesn't feel right to me that now you got two doctors who have gone off. One's still on Earth for the time being, living a normal life. Is he still even technically the Doctor? Does he still have two hearts? Can he still regenerate? Shudi's probably taken all that sort of aspect into his Doctor now, and now David Tennant's, I guess, a blank template quasi-human Doctor. I don't know. Hopefully they explain it more, maybe within the next season or so, just to explain it more. Otherwise, it's just going to be something that people are going to argue about. But yeah, I think it was a okay episode, just not a decent 60th episode.
Okay, Lady G.
I was kind of hoping you'd hold me off to last. Okay. My thoughts on it. I don't care whether it was the 60th or not. To me, I liked the episode. I thought it had a good pace to it. It had good excitement stuff in it. Neil Patrick Harris was great as always in everything he does. They could not have picked a better toy maker, in my personal opinion anyway. I know there's going to be a lot of people against me. And the ball game in there, I thought that, that kept people on their toes because they didn't know what was going on. But I know people are really going to be complaining about the bi-regeneration. In a way, I think it's a good idea because it gives them more pathways to go on in the future. The show always progresses further and keeps coming up with new ideas all the time. Well, guess what? It's progressing further, and a new idea has just been popped out there, and over half the fans are not going to like it. And personally, I think it's a great idea. Get more opportunities out here to get the show going in different directions. Give it more chances. So I like the idea of seeing Mel. I don't think I've ever seen an episode where she was in. Have I?
No.
So it gave me a chance to see how she did in there. And it was the first time me actually seeing some stuff about Unit too, other than a couple episodes from years ago. Because I've only started watching a show back at the end of 2010, so I haven't watched all the classic episodes, and I plan on watching them all. It's just taking me a time to do it.
Oh, okay. Anything else or
No.
Oh, okay. DWC?
What it's worth, I had the same questions about can the Tennant's Doctor still regenerate or not, and I had found RTD's Twitter, and I have actually asked, but I'm not expecting a response. But I asked nonetheless. All right, so into my bit. We now come to the last of the 3 specials with the Giggle. And after 75 years off TV, finally the return of the Toymaker. Now finally having left his universe because the Doctor poured that salt on the edge of the universe, he has been free to put God in a jack-in-the-box, seal the Master in a gold tooth, and even turn the Guardians into voodoo dolls. Also, when I was a child, I never saw Spice Up Your Life as a sinister song, but somehow this episode did it. Also returning, although a bit underwhelmingly, was the return of Mel, who we now know travelled with Glitz until he died tripping over a whiskey bottle. This episode provided a great sinister tone throughout, with effects that could only be dreamed of in the 60s, and really brought out the full nature of the Toymaker as a character, and with uncomfortable imagery that you really don't know who will be alive at the end. On a side note, Rusty Davis also decided to highlight the racism associated with the original Toymaker's costume by having him put on a German accent and making note of skin tone in Logie Baird's assistant. And now, a first for Doctor Who, Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor has been introduced by bi-regeneration, which the Doctor is the only Time Lord to achieve. This was a great way to introduce us to our new Doctor and what they'll be like in more than just 30 seconds, like with regeneration. Although I do think Tennant overshadowed Gatwa. So where does this leave Tennant's Doctor? Davis has explained on Doctor Who Unleashed that Tennant's Doctor is now settling down with Donna's family, living a quiet life. But I'm left in question, can Tennant's Doctor still regenerate? And with that is the end of the specials. But who are the Toymaker's legions? And just who is the one player the Toymaker would never face? The one who waits.
I know, that had me intrigued too. It's like, wait a minute. There's someone the Toymaker wouldn't mess with? Oh, I can't wait to find out who that is. Yeah, okay. It was a good episode, but I agree with AJ. It should have been longer. They were going along fine there, but then it seemed, they started to really rush up the pace. To me, the Spice Girls were always sinister. But that's just me. But Neil Patrick Harris, of course, amazing as the Toymaker. I have to agree on that. But then again, I've loved this guy in about everything he's done. As I mentioned repeatedly over the last few weeks, he did an amazing job as Count Olaf in the Netflix version of a series of unfortunate events, and I could definitely see him doing the Toymaker. He just is a damn good actor. And of course, he pulls off a really good musical number too, apparently. But okay, yeah, I agree with a lot of people here who's popping up in the comment box. Wait, this wasn't a 60th anniversary episode though. Sure, it was a good season finale for your average season, but it just didn't feel like a 60th anniversary special to me. And I agree with Philip there a minute ago that the bi-regeneration thing kind of takes away that sadness you feel when the old Doctor departs and the new one comes in. And I don't know what the purpose of that was, really, because I really do not see the Doctor settling down into a nice, quiet family life. We've seen what happens. Like, let's flash back to, give me a minute, Power of Three. Anybody else here remember when the Doctor tried just to kill a few minutes? He mowed the lawn, he did this, he did that. He goes, how long's that been? And he said, finally, he just, screw that, and he took off in the TARDIS. I do not see the Doctor just settling down with the Noble clan. But also another thing this episode did do is we now know the fate a lot of people over, a lot of the classic fans have been jumping up and down screaming, where's the black and white Guardian? And well, apparently now we know where. And also, he apparently turned the Master, or captured him or trapped him in that gold tooth, which of course we once again saw being picked up by a female hand with red fingernails, just like at the end of Last of the Time Lords. So I thought that was just a nifty little throwback right there. And another thing, what was that? Oh, somebody dropped something. Okay.
Cat.
That's what happens when you do this stuff live. Okay. Another thing he brought up, and this is something I thought RTD was never going to do. Now, forgive me if I'm crazy, but did he or did he not mention that Sarah Jane Smith had passed away? And that's something I never thought for the life of me that RT was going to finally do. Because if they were smart, instead of doing Class, and I don't care what your opinion is, it sucked. Class, you could have easily done a Bannerman Road series with a different lead or another classic companion filling in the role. And I'm hoping that that's what he's opening by, going out of the way to mention that Sarah Jane had passed away. And I'm really hoping that's what leads to that. Or if we found out the fate of Sablon Glitz, who, did live to be the ripe old age of 104. And we also found out just, a lot of people were asking the big question, wait a minute, how'd Mel get back to Earth? And it's like I've been explaining to people who say, why can't you have Susan back on? And I said, because just like they did with Mel, it took all of 30 seconds, couple lines of dialogue to explain what happened to Mel and how she got back to Earth. They could have done the exact same thing with Susan. And I don't know why, but it seems like they're avoiding the whole Susan Foreman thing like it's the plague. And it's really, really, oh God, I'm going to say a dirty word, pissing me off. Because now we're at the 60th anniversary. And no Carol Ann Ford, no Susan Foreman, nada. So
I'm not even aware. I don't know. Maybe you know the answer. If something happens to Susan, will she regenerate, or she will just die?
Well, yeah, Susan's a Gallifreyan.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. I thought something in the 50th was going to happen, and here that we get to see her regenerate. But man, I don't know. I don't know why. Is it the rights? Because whoever created Susan is the one needs permission to to put her in anywhere, considering she's appearing in Big Finish so many years.
Well, Susan's one of the primary characters, so probably created by, Sidney Newman and the gang, not King High What's His Nuts, who is now claiming he owns Doctor Who and blah blah blah, and came up with the whole idea himself. Who cares? Like I said, that guy just ticks me off.
I would also say that if it was a rights issue, then frankly, Susan wouldn't have been in the more recent broadcast of An Adventure in Space and Time, and she was.
Yeah. So, like I said, I enjoyed the show, but like I said, the whole idea of, oh look, here's another TARDIS. Oh look, now Time Lords can split like amoeba, kind of threw me off. I was having a wild ride. Sure, I was not happy the ride was over so quickly, but then, oh, just pull on one side, you pull on the other. There he is. But one note before we proceed. Ncuti Gatwa is now officially one of the few actors to have appeared on Doctor Who have gotten into Tennant's pants. Can we name any others? Well, it's kind of obvious. Well, okay.
You think Georgia got jealous over it?
Yeah, I've been getting to wonder if somebody, didn't do a little. It kind of reminded me of the little bit from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when the guy developed this invention that made ladies' undergarments jump immediately like 3 feet off to the one side. Now you've got the Doctor splitting clothes between the two of them. And like I said, I was happy to see Ncuti get a few minutes to start off, but at the same time, you've lost that whole element of saying goodbye to the previous Doctor. And to me, that's always a part of the whole cycle, And now, it feels to me like RTD is somehow going out of his way to immortalize Tennant as the Doctor. You know, he was always the Doctor anyway, even after he regenerated. Come on, any actor who's taken on that role is always the Doctor. They're going to be for life, whether they like it or not. And oh my god, shit. Okay, I got to put that one up. Shooty isn't the Doctor; he is Captain Underpants.
Let's just be happy.
Cartoon about Captain Underpants.
Let's just be happy he actually got to wear underpants.
And also, that's another. Yeah, someone just brought that up in the comment box. If you really, really wanted to cement the idea that the Doctor has given it up, there wouldn't have been no second TARDIS. Sorry. Because the thought of now there's two identical TARDISes running around, that, you know, come on. It's bad enough you got so many Doctors running around now in the time continuum anyway, but let's have a couple duplicate ones or duplicate TARDISes running around.
No,
okay, now technically what was said in the episode was that that's not a duplicate TARDIS. That is the prize. Because when he hit the side of the TARDIS, the prize popped out.
Yeah, but it split off from the main TARDIS, and that's something we've seen
I know,
before.
but I'm going by what they said in the episode, so.
Yeah.
And what's funny, on the comments saying it'll be funny if the 14th Doctor becomes the curator.
Philip there said, all right, wrong one. I highlighted the wrong one. Okay. Shooty did pull off underwear acting to a new high. Okay.
Oh, I bet he enjoyed acting in his underwear.
Oh, yeah, he must have framed that right there.
That's probably the most comfortable outfit he'll have on the whole time he plays the Doctor.
And I just watched the brief clip that's popped up of just literally a couple of minutes before the podcast began for Christmas. It's circulating out on like Facebook and a couple other places. And
is this going to be a spoiler?
No. It's just the small trailer. I'll have to show it to you later for Christmas.
I don't want to see it. I want to go into the Christmas episode.
Okay, then you don't get to see it.
Like everything I do.
But like I said, I'm still looking forward to the upcoming season. I'm glad, the show's going on. You're already filming like Shooty's second season now. So it's definitely got a couple more years, if not more, because RTD's already starting to write stuff for like the fourth season, he said. So
yeah.
Okay, since we watched the episode the first time, and I'm sure William will know the name of this movie I'm thinking of. What's the name of the movie where the dude goes sliding across the floor and he's shirt, tie, underwear, and socks?
Oh, that's Risky Business with Tom Cruise.
Risky Business,
yeah,
Tom Cruise.
That's it. I've been trying to think of the name of that because that's what Shooty reminded me of.
I will say I kind of agree with you sort of with introducing David to reintroducing David Tennant in this way, and there is a kind of a big problem though of is he going to be overused if they keep using him? Because that's the kind of thing I'm guessing. I mean, particularly, you said Tennant is the Doctor. He was always the Doctor. That's absolutely true, but I don't want to see Tennant as the Doctor, the only Doctor, if that makes it. The show is not David Tennant in the same way that the classic series has never been Tom Baker.
Exactly. That's what I'm really hoping that's not going to happen is now you've got the Tennant Doctor, as we say, still running around, and it's, please don't tell me you've done this as like a fallback point,
Kind of like with the Meta Crisis. That's what it reminded me of when it happened.
Yeah.
I would also,
but as far as we know, he's regenerated into two Doctors. So I can only theorize he's going to be able to regenerate at some point. But like I said, I was never a fan of the idea. I was never a fan of the idea of two TARDISes. But hey, it's RTD's show. He's going to do what the heck he wants with it.
I would also, when looking at my notes, I also noted when in that confrontation between the Doctor and the toy maker in the card game, the toy maker actually mentions he made a jigsaw of the Doctor's history. Okay, is anyone else thinking the Flux right now? Or the Timeless Charms? Even that? Excuse me?
That's another thing. I think RTD went out of his way to make sure the flux was mentioned, because as I told everybody, him and the Chibs have been friends for years, and he was not going to overwrite anything he did. And if anything, he took that and he used it as, a basis, because it even gets mentioned in that little puppet show. And I was really glad that, they showed a lot of the classic companions. Oh, look, here's Amy Pond. Oh, look, here's, Bill Potts. And here, look at, and then he cuts their strings. And then he hits him with, that line every time he says, well, wait a minute, she lived on a, and I can't remember what exactly he said. Could someone remind me?
It said, well, that's all right then.
Yeah, well, that's all right then.
No, well, that a little bit upsetting about that. He was showing all the companions of the Doctor, and every one of them was from this century. Who didn't bother couldn't do one of Ace, couldn't do one of of any of the
Adric.
other ones. Adric,
Adric's
Charlie,
but
man.
but the whole point was kind of to highlight the fact that some of his companions have actually died, albeit come back in some way. Most of the classic ones.
Well, he could have done one. He could have done one of Katarina. That was the first Doctor companion.
Well,
he died.
Her and Adric, yes, but
I think what they were doing though is they were trying to limit it, because I can't even remember how many companions there have been now to this point.
More to the point, like I just said, he was highlighting companions that had died but had also come back. Katarina and Adric didn't come back.
Well, you got to remember that
the whole point was just
died. They dead.
Yep,
but then they saying that he was saying, "Oh, this girl died of old age. This girl is stuck in the thing like that. She's still doing her thing."
Yes, but the whole point was just so they could have that tagline. Well, that's all right then.
But then he could have said that Adric sacrificed himself for the future of humanity to survive, and then he could have said the exact same line as well.
Yeah,
all right, maybe.
Very true. I can see that too. But I was glad that, they did get mentioned. Adric's now been mentioned twice, which surprises me. But at the same time, it doesn't, because it was a very, very tragic, thing. Companion deaths in the classic series, they did happen, but they didn't happen that often. There was Katarina, there was Sarah Kingdom, and then there was there was Adric, there was,
Well, you have the one Sarah Keenan's brother, because she shot him.
Ah, yeah.
Harry.
I was shocked they even mentioned Mavic Chen.
Oh yeah.
That's one nobody thinks of, at all, probably, from way back in the day.
Yeah, I'm very glad Davis brought that up.
And
Black
mention.
Phoenix brought up no mention of Martha.
No mention of Martha. Yep, no mention of Martha.
Yeah, no mention of Martha.
There was no mention of Rose either in the puppet show, which could have.
Yeah, he could have said.
I think too.
She got sent to another parallel world, like that. Like that.
But
that's
it's
all
funny.
right.
It's funny though, because they ignored the Big Finish stuff with Mel too. Because doesn't she go back to? I think it's the Sixth Doctor after being with Sablon Glitz for so long, and then she's traveling with the Doctor again.
I have no idea. I am
quite
so
sure.
far behind on my Big Finish. So,
answer that, Phil.
I'm quite sure that's a thing, because I remember the Doctor's talking to her, and she's like, "Yeah, I did this and this with Glitz while I was traveling with him." I'm quite sure it was within the last couple of years on Big Finish.
Doctor, and they basically made him feel like a knockoff.
Okay, that's an interesting thought right there. Yeah,
But I gotta call out on that. Gatwood is not the first black actor to be the Doctor. You got to go to Peter Davison. You got to go back to him. Nobody wants to mention it, but he's half black. So,
or she count Lenny James.
There you go.
Yeah.
Either way, I think that's all going to be resolved by just having him when we see him in his own series. It's going to be very different. We're going to have a very different feeling of him after that.
Thank you for the confirmation. That was correct.
Oh, of course, yes. The Fugitive Doctor. Thank you, David. Yeah, we can't forget. Yeah, I call her the Ruth Doctor. That's how I remember. I don't know why.
I said Dr. Ruth, but yeah.
Now, when you say Dr. Ruth, though, I think of Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
Westheimer.
Google it.
Sexually speaking, you're on the air.
Can I also mention an interesting bit of continuity? The Doctor has now mentioned that they're 1 billion years old. I'm thinking, well, that's a huge time gap between when Capaldi said he was 1200 or something.
Well, you gotta if you count, because remember, I don't know how years are counted in Gallifrey and to Earth, because we got to us 365 days is a year, so I don't know how that is over there in Gallifrey. But you gotta mention in a lot of stories that Doctor, like say the 8th Doctor was in prison in the sun for like hundreds of years, and then some other stories he was like a lot of time passed.
Well, plus I think it was a direct mention back to the timeless child thing, because remember, Rassilon did mention 1 billion years of Time Lord history in our back, and the whole thing with Tech Tayun and the finding of the timeless child was basically the start of Time Lord history.
Oh, that's a good point.
And
So
also,
that's why I think he mentioned it.
Also,
sorry,
go ahead. I was going to say, also the 12th Doctor being trapped in the device where he kept dying and then getting rebuilt again.
Yeah, he kept punching and punching and punching it. Yeah.
Yeah, the diamond wall. He was like there for 6 billion years.
But that wasn't the same guy. One thing would die, and then the same guy, it was the same guy over and over again. It wasn't the same guy in one length, you see.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
That's how they explain that off.
Oh, okay, my bad.
He was a pattern and a buffer like Scotty and Relics. No. Google it. No.
Confession dial.
The confession dial, yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah. Susan does not. Oh, yeah. Well, we all know. Yeah, Susan got left on Earth. Yeah, after.
Remember, she's in the 22nd, 23rd century, so she's over.
22nd.
Yeah, she's over there. So she's not gonna go. She can't go back in time because she doesn't have the TARDIS.
Yeah, David got my reference there. Yeah, Scotty and Relics. Yeah.
Well, didn't she get recalled in Big Finish as well for the Time War at some point recently?
Remember,
too?
She got recalled. They sent her a TARDIS, but that's not her for her to keep. That's only for her to use for the war. And she only had one box set, so we don't know what happened to her in the Time War. Nothing.
Yeah, true.
To be frank, if you remember way back in Eccleston's series, the Empty Child, there's this thing where the Doctor the Doctor meets. He mentions, "I was once a father, now a grandfather. Now I'm neither." And the Doctor actually responds, "I know the feeling," or something along those lines. That's somewhat implied, but Susan died in the Time War, or he just lost her in general.
Well, no, he just left her behind, so he's technically not a grandfather. He's just moved on from her.
Yeah, but remember, he became a great grandfather when she had a son.
That's right, yeah, Alex. Yeah.
Yep. Google it. No. For you folks who haven't listened to Big Finish, catch up. Oh, I don't.
There's a lot.
I have a legit complaint.
Just kidding.
And somebody pass this shit on to RTD and the BBC. Keep the freaking music down so we can hear every word in the episodes.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, that's one thing I almost forgot to bring up. The who's ever mixing these things lately, and it's been happening a lot on Netflix. The background music is too damn loud. The dialogue is too low. I literally had to sit here go.
No,
I almost reached for my ear horn.
You know what I gotta do for that nonsense? I gotta turn for me to read what they're saying. I have to turn that on. I can read.
I don't like subtitles.
I have to. I watch anime, so I gotta read the subtitles.
Okay, so we've had a discussion about it. Let's rate this sucker and put it to bed. Okay, starting at the top, DWC out of 10. What do you give the Giggle?
Honestly, I really enjoyed the entire atmosphere and the whole dark nature of it, the spooky nature. Maybe it's not a 60th, I don't really care, but I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay. Lady G?
Okay, now I'm going to have some people hate me over this, but I personally don't give a crap. For one, the music was too loud. And for two, and this is a part where people are going to turn against me, I'm not a fan of Donna Noble. So I'm only giving the episode like a 9, and that's the highest I'll give it because of those two reasons.
Okay. AJ?
Yeah, I'm going to say didn't feel like a 60th. Could have been longer or even a two-parter. 8 out of 10 for me.
All right. And William?
Well, first thing Philip is saying, he's giving the story an 8. and the cutty in his underwear 10. Nuts. Uh, like I said last week, because of what they did with the toy maker and not bringing up the past stories and books, I'm gonna leave it when I left last week's second story, a 5. And I don't care who likes it or not. I kept my word, and y'all keeping my word. And RTD, you should do better with your homework, especially a little study with help.
Well, I'm gonna give it an 8. Like I said, it wasn't a 60th anniversary special. It was a damn good episode. The villain was well acted, but yeah, I'm just not comfortable with the fact that we've gone out of our way to keep Tennant around for some reason, and the fact that they could even conceive of the fact the Doctor is just going to sit there and live a nice, peaceful, quiet life with the nobles. So it just doesn't work for me. But
which will probably appear next year in Big Finish. Watch.
But like I said, we have Christmas to look forward to. I've just briefly seen the clip for the trailer or whatever little thing they had for that. It looks like it's going to be an exciting episode with goblins.
Yeah, Russell T. Davies did actually say in an interview recently that he thinks the die-hard fans of Doctor Who are going to be annoyed with this one because they're moving into the realms of fantasy as opposed to just hard science fiction now.
Yeah, they're going over to Disney for the most part now. Yeah, I think I just hope they never refer to poor Shooty as the Disney Doctor.
No. In reality, it's McGann who is the Disney Doctor because they own half the rights of that '96 movie now. So
yeah,
I gotta say McGann.
But
goblins.
The classic series did go into the fantasy a little bit too, with Gods of Ragnarok and Fenric and all that sort of stuff too.
Yeah, that's why I'm not actually annoyed at all. I don't care if he has goblins.
Okay, and I know Dr. Freedom's made his little remarks about women in the different shows and stuff like that. Well, just to let you guys know, and I do know about Shooty, okay? And I know I'm a married woman, but I like how he dances around in his underwear.
Are you kidding? I just liked how Neil Patrick Harris actually made the Spice Girls entertaining for the first time in my life.
Oh, I like how he swings his butt. I follow him and his husband both on Instagram. Those two are hilarious.
Like I said, he just more than it was beyond how I imagined. You know, it was just a very, very, very well done performance. Well, guys, until Christmas, be sure to be kind, be calm, be safe out there. The roads are going to get icy unless the global warming takes us all before Santa comes. So take care, everyone. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. And we'll see you all on the flip side. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Oh, my God, Philip. Lady G loves hot chocolate. I wish I'd hit the end button before I saw that. Good night.
Oh, boy.